This week on the MotoMan Podcast, cars have become insanely expensive. I think cars are too expensive.
5 years ago, shoppers looking for an inexpensive car could choose from about a dozen models selling for less than $20,000.
The average new car is nearly $50,000.
A monthly car payment now averages more than $700. That's the highest on record.
And even used cars are approaching 30 grand.
A new study finds that used cars are more expensive now than this time last year.
But what if a new American company had a plan to change all that?
We've heard few details about Slate Auto.
But now they're out of the shadows, ramping up production of a customizable EV.
Slate is keeping costs low by removing all non-basic needs in a car.
Because we want more companies to make things right here in America.
Gotta say, guys, it's interesting. It's an interesting concept.
The new Slate EV starts at just 20 grand.
What the hell is Slate?
Slate is a new American car company that's developing vehicles that people can personalize, afford, and love.
I sit down with my old friend Jeff, who used to be a Jaguar, then Kia, and now is at a new car company called Slate.
This is a Slate.
We get the full story on how this isn't just another EV startup, rather their origin is rooted in a mission to bring high-value manufacturing back to the US. Why wouldn't you just say, Slate is a new kind of car company making cars affordable? End of story.
Because we're not only making an affordable vehicle, we're making a desirable vehicle, and a modular vehicle, and the first vehicle designed for wrap.
It's a two-door electric pickup truck that can be turned into a 5-seat SUV in your own garage. An idea so compelling, it attracted some of the biggest investors in the world.
Our Series A was led by Bezos Expeditions.
As in Amazon Bezos.
That's right.
But is it too good to be true? I pushed Jeff on the tough questions, the limited range, the lack of all-wheel drive, and whether a two-door pickup truck can actually sell in America. Don't bother me with the facts. My mind is already made up. I think this is going to be a pain point for you. We get into all of it right now.
This is a Slate.
If we go backwards, it was exactly a year ago, just this past Sunday, we had what's called the Last Supper.
Yeah.
You had been working at Kia for how long?
Just about 3 years.
And you were like the rising star over there. They were ready to pluck you from like the nether regions of Irvine, California, and send you over to Korea to kind of run the show. But you had a different plan.
Sometimes things come up and you get curious and you ask the questions, you find out the answers, and that was kind of what was happening. Plus, we just had a baby. So living in Boston, trying to figure out what life is like as a new dad, and I took a phone call.
They called you.
Everyone is calling each other.
I thought you were a sheikh, not a mufti.
Inshallah.
Because you're on the higher level. So people call the mufti first, then they speak to you.
Different roles and responsibilities.
So I don't quite understand the whole thing about, you had to move because you had a child. Because you had a child, you owned a house literally for 3 days and then sold it. So stability really wasn't the driving factor there, was it?
We've known each other we were just talking about this for 10 to 15 years. Stability, I think the only thing stable in my life is you.
That's true.
So, and I always know I can find you right about here. We bought a house. Ended up selling it to move closer to family here in California. And then early September, I started this new job with Slate.
Okay, so let's step back before we dive into any of this. For the 3 people that have been living under a rock for the past couple of months, what the hell is Slate?
Slate is a new American car company that's developing vehicles that people can personalize, afford, and love. What that means more practically is we're trying to solve the problem of cars having become too expensive. People can't afford their cars anymore for a variety of reasons. Everything from adding technology, autonomy, trim packages, all these things that people weren't asking for but were suddenly added. And we're saying, what if we took a step back and let people make the decision about what they wanted in their cars?
So you are a communications professional. Why wouldn't you just say, Slate is a new kind of car company that is making cars affordable? End of story.
That's a really interesting point because we're not only making an affordable vehicle, we're making a desirable vehicle and a modular vehicle and the first vehicle designed for wrap. So in the early days, we're talking about early days, I knew what the vehicle was as defined on paper. When I joined, I hadn't seen it. And when you think about what an affordable vehicle could be, it could take many forms. It could be for specific audience. But what we've done through exceptional engineering, very clever design, and packaging and accessories strategy that is first in the industry, we're able to say it's not just an affordable vehicle, it's also all those other things.
Okay, again, for the three people that have been living under a rock, what exactly is the Slate? Like, speak to me like I am 3 years old.
I've got a 1-year-old right now who I consider that she's 3 years old. So
she's smarter than me. She's definitely got a maturity level higher than me. There's no doubt.
Yeah. So it's a 2-door pickup truck produced in a single configuration. So think back to the last time you purchased a car. Wait, what was your first car? Have we had this conversation?
We've had this conversation. My first car was a 1986 Isuzu Impulse Turbo, which, put another way, was a Chevrolet Chevette with a Giugiaro body on it.
So memories of that car. What's your lasting memory of that car?
I have a very specific lasting memory. It taught me the very hard lesson of depreciation in a way no other car could have. And that's why I've never lost money on a car ever since then. And in most cases, I make money on cars.
So that first car story is so important and it's foundational to what we're doing here. People can't afford their cars anymore. So that goes back to affordability. If you've been living under a rock, what our truck does differently is it's not just a 2-door pickup truck. It's so modular, so configurable, and so accessorizable, it can become a 5-seat SUV.
Well, now hold on a minute. What does accessorizable mean? Like, are we talking about putting like stickers on it, or you can get the Rally Fun Pack? How is that different? That's the thing that stood out to me.
So accessorization takes on a new meaning here, where the industry would like to sell you heated seats, for example. But in order to get those heated seats, you also have to get a rear spoiler or mag wheels or something. You look and you say, how am I drawing the connection between these things that I don't need for the one thing that I want? Accessorization to us means if you want a heated seat, we will help you get a heated seat. If you want 2 or 5 heated seats, we'll also help you with that. But it's for you to be able to say, I want this truck to be my own truck. And instead of factory options, by eliminating factory options, we're able to produce it in one configuration and radically simplify manufacturing. So we're not reinventing manufacturing here. We're just making it significantly easier for the customer and also reducing complexity on our side and then passing those savings back along.
So let's step back again even further. What we're talking about is a 2-door pickup truck that is electric. It does not have a gas engine.
This is true.
And it is a 2-door pickup truck that is assembled in the US. Mm-hmm. I think we should dive into that a little bit. And I'm going to give you a little crap here. This guy, somewhat behind the scenes, Jeff and I go way back. And Jeff, otherwise known as Habibi, you were on my side of the fence. You were a well-respected car journalist for many years. We were on the World Car together. And then you decided to go into the PR world. So you know cars really well. That's my purview of the whole thing. But what was different when you first showed me this thing, and that was what, April?
You saw it before some other people did, for sure. Yeah, that was in April.
The thing that stood out to me was it's more like a motorcycle, a really fancy motorcycle, in that you can do anything you want to it. And most of it came from the factory. So like, what are 3 big things you can change? Meaning the person, not one of these things where you have to buy the factory sunroof.
Yeah, so accessories mean a couple different things to us. We offer accessories a la carte. So think about headlight covers. What's really great about our design philosophy, and you've met Tisha Johnson. She leads,
know her from Volvo.
She leads an incredible team here and in Michigan as well. There's no ego in the design. Some car designers would love to say, I've designed it, it's perfect, and you're interested in the vehicle because I made it perfect the first time. Please don't mess it up. For us, we look at it and say, make it yours. So if you want to replace the headlight cover, you unscrew a couple of pieces, you put your new headlight cover on. That's also part of it. DIY is really important, and we can talk about that. So that's one really interesting example of accessorization and personalization, is saying, I want my own. You can 3D print it. We'll give you the specs, the dimensions. You go 3D print your own cover. Second piece.
You didn't tell me that part when I first saw the car.
Yeah, so it's really cool. So
is that new?
That's been part of our proposition to begin with. I mean, you think about the headlights and the taillights as examples. You can make your own. You can take the covers off entirely. But however it fits what your expression of the vehicle is, you can make that happen.
The other thing I thought was interesting about the accessorization was, I think the biggest thing that people see is the cap, where you can make it an SUV. Everyone buys a pickup truck, hence the name, it's the Slate. You start with a Slate and you can add on from there. It's kind of like the first theories principle. What is the problem you're trying to solve, and you reason up from there. I think that would have been a better name for the company.
There's
first theories principle.
There's a lot of first principles thinking that we do here, and that slate is the blank slate. So that blank slate can be converted, wrapped, whatever you want to do.
So this the SUV thing, when you first showed it to me, you had the square back. Think of it as like the long roof SUV, but it wasn't until the launch that we went to that I saw the fastback, the coupe version, quote unquote, the SUV coupe. Was that always the case to do two of those, or was that a late edition?
Yeah. So early days, our design team presented both options, and there was one camp that was square back because it harkens back to a very familiar, timeless shape. And there was another camp that said fastback because they wanted something that was a little bit different. And because we wanted to offer people flexibility and choice, we went with both.
Okay, so let's go up the food chain a little bit. Let's talk about some of the motivations here. I think I've shared with the audience on a TFL podcast that I'm very biased about this. And I think now they know you're a buddy of mine. But also, I love the concept, not just because you're trying to make an inexpensive car and I'm a Dave Ramsey guy, and not just because of all the accessories, but really, where did it start? It didn't start as a car company. It started within, I think it's an investment fund you were telling me about based in Boston. And the idea was, how do we do manufacturing in the US? What's the story with that?
Yeah, so a company called Rebuild Manufacturing, which was founded in 2020, they were in the business of...
Hell of a time to start a car company, or any kind of company, 2020.
Well, exactly. And part of the timing, and I won't speak for them entirely, but the part of the timing was we knew IP was moving offshore, so they wanted to onshore production and IP and preserve American manufacturing. So they set out to do that in as many sectors as possible, and it's grown into a really interesting business. About 2 years in, there was a conversation among some of the leaders of that company, and they said, what if we could do this for the automotive industry? And there are all sorts of impetus behind this. In particular, a lot of their employees couldn't get to work. They were underwater in car loans. They were far from the factory sites where they were driving every day. So this company, which wasn't called Slate at the time, had a dual purpose. It was serving the people who worked at rebuild factories, but also a much larger group of people who were maybe considering used cars, because new cars have reached, at that point, over $45,000, today closer to $50,000. Used cars had reached $25,000, now today closer to $30,000, with interest rates that don't show any sign of going down. So what could they do to solve that problem? And there are some fun apocryphal stories about how this came to life, but they basically said, imagine the success of this and then work backward. And then let's bring this to life and see if there's a feasibility study, and let's do it.
As a guy who was in tech for 15 years, I have to say it's an unusual Batman origin story. But are there other portfolio companies within this whole rebuild telenovela?
Yes, they're supplying a lot of really interesting organizations and industries in the US right now.
Anything we know about? Anything like what sectors are they going after?
Yeah, if you're interested in composites, aerospace, they're out there.
And it's all same remit, where let's see how we can reshore manufacturing in the US.
Yes, yeah, it is. And they're part of that strategy is also reindustrialization. So it's not about building a new factory if we don't need to build one. That's also something that we took forward, and we could talk about the factory that Slate is going to use. We'll get to that. But yeah, it was, what can we do here and how can we do it?
So does that mean there is like a a public-private cooperation within Rebuilt where they're going, like in your case, your factory's in Indiana. Did they go to the States and say, look, we want a remnant factory. We're going to bring you jobs. What are you going to do for us in like tax packages? That's part of Rebuilt's deal?
Yeah, Rebuilt is doing some amazing work. I'll let them speak for it. It's a little bit above my pay grade, which is ironic because we have a principle that nothing is above our pay grade. But I'll let you talk to them about that.
I'll tell you, it's funny. I think I'm the only person, and I've talked to a lot of people about Slate. I think I'm the only person that finds that the most fascinating part, the origin story that it came from. How do we bring manufacturing back to the U.S.? I'm a big believer in that. I'm a big believer in bringing as much as we can. Like, I don't think, like that T-shirt you have, I don't think we can bring that back to the U.S. I think there's better places or better areas we can focus on and bring manufacturing back. A car is one of them. I think there's an opportunity to do tech, as we just saw. Like, I honestly didn't believe the news when I first saw it, but Apple manufacturing screens in Kentucky or something like that, like, blew my mind. And for me, the perspective isn't just, hey, let's bring jobs back. It's more bringing dignity to the folks in those regions of the U.S. that many people would consider flyover country. Anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox. Let's get back to what we're talking about with Slate. So the story, you already kind of brought it up. Tish, she's from Volvo. But she's not the only one from established car or other technology from whatever the case may be. It's not just car companies you pulled from, and hold CJ for the last because I think he's the best example. Where are some other people from?
Yeah, so our leadership team comes from Automotive and then also outside. But in order to make this work, so we go back to that origin story, the leaders at Rebuilt had never made a car before, but they made the wise decision early on to consult people who knew how to do it. So our CEO, Chris Barman, is a 30-year veteran of the automotive industry. She spent a number of formative years, as she says, I'm going to get this wrong, Chrysler, Daimler, Chrysler, Cerberus, bankruptcy. I think it's the other way around. FCA before doing some independent work and some outside work. Our head of engineering, Eric Kuiper, comes from the automotive industry in Detroit, as well as some startups. Back in 2022, we had, at the end of the year, the first year, we had 18 people. They were all in an office probably about as big as this room, which for you, those of you not in this room right now, not so big.
For a cigar lounge, this is huge.
Yeah. For an automotive enterprise, it would be considered, this is a startup 101. By the end of this year, we're going to be close to 600 employees. And it's incredible to see how we got people early on who believed in the mission, who were ready to take that jump, just like me, not having seen the vehicle except defined on paper.
You didn't tell me that part when we first met down in, Long Beach?
In Long Beach, yeah.
You didn't tell me that part. I would think to sell you the dream, you'd want to see the dream, wouldn't you?
In some cases, yes. But what was presented to me and what's so powerful about our story, like we started with, it's not about a vehicle. It really is about solving a problem. And when you think about the fact that things have gotten too expensive, that was something that resonated with me. Things that are too expensive and we have a solution to make it here, that's another level. And then to make it innovative, attractive, multi-purpose, multifunctional, you build these layers, and it was really hard to say no.
So let's talk about it a little bit. Let's talk some numbers, because I actually have some specific numbers.
When are we playing the options game?
We're about to play the options game right now. Actually, you know what? You've made my job hard, because when I actually do review the car, I can't play the options game. It's literally
no options.
The base price, whatever it is, and then boom, that's it, done. Like the episode's going to be 3 seconds.
It's going to be the longest episode ever because of the accessories game that I know you're going to play.
That's going to have to be a new game, and I don't know how I'm going to cover it. We'll work on something there. So this is point of a little discussion. We have to talk some real numbers. Because as you remember, I am huge against debt. And around the same time that you were talking about 21, 22, this started out, 22, because it was 2 years into the rebuild deal. The average price of a new car was about $51,000. Blew my mind. And I couldn't believe that people were getting into transaction prices. And we're not talking about $51,000 Porsche Macans, which is what they cost. The base price of a Macan was $49.95 in like 2019. So we're not talking ancient history, but we're talking like you drove up in a Kia Sportage hybrid. That kind of car was 51 grand. Now, granted, it's rolled back to 48 as the virus dissipated and supply chains came about. So what are you talking about in terms of dollars and cents?
We're talking mid-20s.
What does that mean, really? Mid-20s? Because when we first talked, you were like, it's going to be 20 grand. And then, but it's really with incentives. Are we talking 25? Are we talking 26, 22?
This is a new game.
Yeah.
We're just going to throw out numbers. No, mid-20s to us it's an important figure that we will clarify as we convert reservations into orders. But that's before any incentives. And despite the federal incentive sunsetting, there are plenty of local incentives, particularly in this state and others, where we will still encourage people to go see what's available to them.
So you and I are going to play a new game a little bit later in this episode called the SWOT analysis. And when I get to threats, I got a couple of things there. And one of them is this: you had to have seen the thing was going away, the federal incentive.
Has the game begun?
We're going to play the full game later, but I can't move on without at least touching this point. Like 2022, yeah, you were in a different administration, a different time, but those of us in the car industry knew at some point that incentive was going away. Because I know I've said this many times, and Roman gets so mad at me when I say it on his podcast because he's a huge EV evangelist, even though he thinks he's a car guy. And I love Roman. Keep that in mind. I call it charity for rich people. That's $7,500. And I felt like, why do we need to put that out there? Was there a discussion with you guys of like, yeah, we see it going away and how do we deal with it before it happened?
So what's really interesting, and this goes back to some foundational documents, some very clever thinking, very smart thinking, and some long-term thinking, we designed the value proposition without including the $7,500 credit. That would have been a bonus for people who were buying a Slate and also qualified for that credit. But it was not baked into our proposal. What we did differently was we took out engineering costs for things like infotainment. We didn't have to spend money on that because you've seen the interior of the vehicle. No screens except for a driver interface. Bring your own tech. That's a big savings right there. And our manufacturing, we're making it one way, saving in complexity. There's no paint shop. We don't have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars. So we took those savings and we determined what the price point could be. And then that $7,500 would have been the proverbial icing on the cake for someone who was looking for it. So
back up a little bit here. Last we spoke about this, which was at the launch you had at Long Beach Airport, I'd like to point out. It was $27,500 or something like that. And then that's when you said, okay, really it's going to be 20 with this tax credit.
We've always said mid-20s.
I could have sworn you said 27.5.
I will refer you back to that. But I think some people have been doing the math and saying, what is $7,500 plus or minus $20,000, $30,000? We've said mid-20s. We're committed to that. I'll refer you back to a video where I'm sitting dressed much like this, having a conversation with our CEO, and she says a Slate should cost in the mid-20s, and we're sticking with that.
Where does that number come from? Why should it cost mid-20s? Well, why not like 15 or 30?
So that comes down to a careful assessment of the bill of materials, what it costs to build this vehicle. At the mid-20s, we are less than half the cost of a new vehicle. At mid-20s, we're less than the cost of an average used vehicle.
So what do you say to the guy who says Ford Maverick? That's 28 grand to start.
So we love what's out there. In fact, we're truck people. So we think that our buyers are coming from all sorts of places. And yeah, I see Mavericks all the time. I give them
great car, and I'm not a Ford guy.
Yeah.
So what do you say to them? $28,000, they got a four-door pickup truck. When it's not electric, it's a hybrid, but I would say your addressable audience is a little bit more with a gasoline car.
I think what we're doing differently and what Slate really offers comes back to that modularity and accessorization, where, first of all, you're not going to a dealership because we're going to have direct sales. So in that case, you're already dealing directly with us. Our DIY structure also means like if you do what I did at one point and you back into your garage by accident, your garage bill is going to be a lot more expensive than your vehicle bill because if you want us to replace the part, we'll just send you the part. Legacy Automotive can't do that.
A little bit behind the scenes, I wanted CJ to talk to me, but
I have a beard now. I'm
you
getting
wouldn't
close.
let me speak to CJ because apparently CJ is not media trained.
I hope this doesn't make the show.
That's definitely making it the show. Although you can see CJ, we hijacked him. We hijacked him and he's in Nathan's video because I put the two of them together. So you're welcome. I did the PR for you. But CJ, why is CJ special?
Oh, CJ's incredible. I mean, we have an incredible team of people who know what they're doing and can only do it here at Slate.
Okay, that's not PR garbage. That's true.
Yeah.
I met a bunch of them and they're all from fascinating places. But CJ, I think, personifies it the best because he came from Harley-Davidson. And you're sitting here and trying to sell me on this idea of accessorization. But I think the genius in the accessorization is you went to the company that practically invented accessorization and they still currently print money on accessorization. And that's the guy doing it for you.
Yeah, our accessory strategy is something that no one in the industry is doing. Led by really great people. CJ's just down the road right now with his team working on.
Should have been here.
Yeah, we all have things to do. He's getting the work done. He's out getting the work done. Accessories to us means so much because it's something that, again, with no options, accessories are everything. We're not selling you a truck that, it's the blank slate, but we're showing you what you can do with it in terms of inspiration and functionality and practicality. So what that team is doing, that accessories team, which is growing by the day to support the number of accessories that we will produce and then also advise our community on how to make. So we'll be working on a lot of accessories from things like running boards to headlight covers to the full SUV kits. But at the same time, if you are good with a 3D printer, you see something, the Slate access points that we've defined will allow you to say, maybe they didn't think of this, but it makes sense for my life, and I'm going to make this accessory.
Are you trying to go for like an app store kind of ecosystem? Is that what we're thinking here?
Yeah, so exactly like that. We will help makers get the spotlight so that they can sell to other Slate owners.
And would you create a Slate app store where people could, like if I come up with a special grill, to make it look like a 1954 Goldwing, can you put that in the Slate, Indiana app store? Is that possible?
I like the name. We'll have.
I'm gonna charge you for that.
I'll bill you. We will have more detail about how that's going to work, but our maker interface will be people we've actually seen it already. Already people are 3D printing their own Slate models, which is really cool to see. They believe in what we're doing.
Have they been told that there's no car yet?
They got really excited, just as you did at the launch for our reveal moment.
I got excited when I first saw the thing. I genuinely moved by the whole rebuilt thing. I thought that was the cool thing in the accessories.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that our accessory strategy, it combines with something like the fact that we want to build stuff here again and do it properly it's great.
So CJ if I remember correctly, so CJ is from Harley-Davidson. You had one of the tech guys, I think, is from Renault, correct?
Maybe
you're hiding here.
People have also made a lot of stops along the way. So to get to Slate, this is for a lot of people, it's not their first job. For most people, it's not their first job.
But the point is, you're pulling people from a calcified industry, like the color and trim woman was from Ford. It's a unique group of people, and then obviously the Volvo connection as well. But that was an interesting one because Tish, she's got this, what people, they might not know her, but they know her work. All of the, what I call Gen 2 Volvos, when Geely took over and dropped off a suitcase full of cash and said, this is the money for the next 5 years, don't screw it up. And it was Tish, and believe it or not, Chris Benjamin, who's now at Scout, that made the interiors of those Volvos off the charts. But also the connection, one would think, at least I would think, a Volvo is a very expensive car. A Slate is a very inexpensive car. The thing, you would think the two wouldn't come together, but the piece, at least for me, that comes together is they're both simple.
Yeah. No, I mean, what Tisha has created with her incredible design team in Long Beach and in Troy is a shape that's timeless. And people say across the business, they're coming to Slate to do things that in their careers they couldn't do wherever else they were. These are people who are 35-year veterans at major car companies to people who are rising from interns to assistants to different levels. And they're saying, what I'm going to do here.
All of us here at MotoMan are super excited to not only have the podcast back, but for it to be its own show. And there, we look to you for a little assistance. Can you help us grow the show? Two really easy ways to do that. First and foremost, if you're reaching out via YouTube or other streaming platforms, you click on subscribe, notifications, or more importantly, share these episodes with your friends, especially on Reddit. Now, if you're downloading these episodes, listening via podcast platforms, we'd ask you to rate us. Stars are wonderful, but leaving a written review would be even better, especially sharing who was your favorite guest. So with that, I am incredibly grateful for your assistance in help growing this. And now, back to the episode. Okay, so top talent. Top talent ain't cheap. And that gets us to, I'd say, the biggest challenge of any startup. You know, I was at a couple of startups in the tech world back in my first career. Where does the money come from?
So we've had an amazing time having people get in and believe what we're doing. Our Series A was led by Bezos Expeditions, and that was just a couple of years ago.
As in Amazon Bezos.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Our Series B was led by TWG Global and General Catalyst and among some others.
These are some big firms in the venture world.
They really believe in what we're doing. And you know that we have a story that we say that like people believed in this idea from the first 5 minutes. They said they heard what our pitch was, and if we could pull it off, they were in.
So between the first two rounds, how much was that?
And those first two rounds was about $700 million.
Okay, so let's step back to Lucid. Lucid raised a little bit more than that in their first two rounds, and that got them to the point of a very serious prototype and almost to production. But they had to go out and get another big round for production. What are your plans?
We're in our Series C raise right now. Depending when this airs, we may have closed it, but our Series C raise is happening right now. We're going. If our Series A said we have this idea, what do you think? And our Series B said we've started prototyping and it's becoming real. Series C is please help us get to production. So that we can get the vehicles on the road.
I have to believe when your company was courting you and CJ and all these other wonderful people and Tish.
I should point out to everyone who's watching, there are other people who work at this company.
There are. No, they're totally. These are. I only met. How many did I meet on that launch day?
We had almost 100 Slate people there that night.
No. I mean when I went to the thing in the studio in Culver City.
Oh yeah, that was a smaller group, about 10 people.
About 10. Yeah. So I only really got to know 10 people there.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a bunch of lovely people, but if you think about it, the math, it's a great idea, but I got to believe part of the dream, and this is, I guess, more of a personal question to you, when it's names like that behind the company, that's got to give you more confidence.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we look at the people who believe in us, who have, basically they've contributed to our success for sure. And that's something we've seen as we've continued to scale, hire more after reveal. People look at us and take us really seriously from that perspective, in addition to having the amazing mission and a fantastic product.
When did folks like Tish come on and Chris? I mean, the high level folks, when did they start?
So our senior leadership team began to form in 2022. First, after we were given the permission to start working on this thing and see if we could build the affordable vehicle, Rod Copes, who is our executive chairman, who also comes from places like Harley and Rivian and some others, he brought Chris on, and Chris started in 22 with our head of engineering, Eric Kuiper, and Tisha joined late in 2022, and the first sketch was done early 2023. So not that long ago.
So you look at the contemporaries in this, I call this the class of EVs. And A number of them I felt made a fatal error in where they got their money. A number of them got the money out of China, and it never materialized because you couldn't get the money out of China. I can bring folks on that are smarter than me that can explain why, but that was the big issue. But Lucid, I think one of the strokes of genius in their strategy was getting the money from another place. Granted, people have beat them up that is from Saudi Arabia, but at the end of the day, it's gotten them to this point where now they have a vehicle, meaning the Gravity, that they're actually going to sell. Was that a function in some of the choices you made for the people you get the money from?
We were looking for people who aligned with what our mission was, which was to reindustrialize the U.S., make something here, and make a vehicle for Americans that they can afford. So we've talked to a number of innovators and entrepreneurs who help us get there.
Okay, so let's get a SWOT analysis part, shall we?
You have a whiteboard?
I can get the slate. So yeah.
Are we going to slate? Let's slate real-time slate.
Let's show them the slate of the slate.
This is a slate. Actually, wait. So I'm the voice of our company sometimes. May I say this is a slate?
This you can say that.
Hold it.
You got to hold.
This is a slate.
Notice his voice is deeper. And how did that happen?
We were looking for, in the run-up to our reveal, I wasn't busy enough. So I recorded a version of our script that had been laid out, and it wasn't meant for me to record, but I sent it to our head of marketing. And then in the next meeting we had, he said, you're going to be our voice. I passed it around to everyone. There you go.
So you literally went from grand poobah of communications to the communicator.
Yeah, for now.
So you know what? I'm gonna have Brett. I'm gonna have them put in a bit of this so they could hear how different your voice is.
This is a slate. This slate seats 2 and can carry sheets of plywood.
Like, I didn't know it was you. And so a little bit behind the scenes, we're good friends off camera, and he knows my girlfriend, and she didn't believe it was you when I played it.
Then I appear in the video and I say, hi, I'm Jeff. I work at Slate. This is narrated by me, Jeff. I work at Slate and just happen to have a great voice.
He really does.
So I thought it was very nice of me to bring you a slate. And I gave you the proper branding and everything.
Thank you for bringing this slate to the conversation.
Yes.
I couldn't bring one today.
But you brought homemade bagels.
I did.
That was very nice of you.
Yeah.
I had a bagel before we started. Okay, so SWOT analysis. Enough being nice to you. Now I'm going to beat you up.
Go ahead.
Okay. I get the pickup thing. I get it. Everybody wants it. No, I don't want a pickup, but everybody wants a pickup. Why a two-door pickup?
Couple of reasons. First is cost. That we do everything and in our power to reduce cost and pass the savings on to customers. So in some scenarios, having 2 extra doors is significantly more cost. So starting with 2 doors seems to work.
Sounds great. However, how many two-door Broncos were sold since it came out?
This sounds like a question for the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. What we looked at, and people have said, why is it a 2-door? What are Americans' preferences? The 2-door versions of SUVs are often the most sought after because they're being built in limited numbers.
Well, for freaks like me, yeah, I would want the 2-door with the stick, and I'd prefer a diesel and corduroy seats, but no one would buy that, just me.
So we look at it, and as the same way that we look at a lot of things, that people don't necessarily know what they want until they see it. We've seen over 100,000 reservations in basically 10 days since we started, since we revealed what we were doing. People want it.
So I come from the tech world, and we used to do the similar things. We announced the product with a lot of fanfare. Yeah, rah, rah, sis, boom, bah, here's the product. And we'd get X number of reservations. And it was like 2 to 3% conversion to actual buyers. What are you guys thinking that number will be?
We have a very optimistic projection, but we're also realists. And we know that people have, as we sit right now, it's August 2025. The first slates are going to come off the production line and into people's driveways and garages by the 4th quarter of 2026. That's not a lot of time for us. For some people, it's a little bit more time than they thought. Why have you announced it if it's not available to buy right away? This is a challenge in automotive that you can't always overcome. But for us, that's going to be a very quick 12 to 14 months between now and when those vehicles are on the road. So yeah, it's something that we're considering.
Was there a discussion in this whole, gestation period since 2022? Do we offer a gas engine or just a range extender?
This was an EV from day one. The story is there was a whiteboard sketch, which our head of engineering put on the board of how the system was going to work. Chris Barman and Eric Kuiper both come from the engineering world. And this was what's really great about Slate, and we were actually just having a conversation about this the other day, is that we were presenting an idea and a concept before a marketing strategy. What we were doing was solving a problem, and then we figured out how to market it. So yes, this was an EV from day one.
Is there discussion as the world has changed that there should be a range extender? Because 2022, the world's meaning the culture was very different. Now the culture is at a point that common sense is starting to reign free again.
What's great about having EVs, and I've driven EVs for almost 15 years on and off, but for the most part, once you live with an EV, you realize all the advantages. Lower cost of maintenance, cost of ownership, you figure out how charging works and you never have to go to a gas station again. And you realize all those advantages. Those people are out there, and there are more EV sales than ever.
So, it's interesting you say that. I did an interview with Bob Lutz 2 weeks ago. And Bob and I were talking about it. Believe it or not, most people don't realize he's a major pro EV guy. Everyone still remembers global warming is a crock of shit. He said it on camera. And he says he's pro EV for the exact same reason you just said. And for me, I'm a big EV proponent. Not that I'm going to buy an EV, but the idea of never having to look for energy in your day doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's a huge time savings, like huge.
First thing I asked you when I got here is, where can I plug in?
Well, if we're at the hangar, you could do it, but here you can't. I feel like that's somewhat of a limiting factor, though. I feel like you're not going to get apartment dwellers. You're not going to get the barista at Starbucks, the people who you really want to sell this car to, the ones that's really the car they can afford. If you think about it, forget about the $52,000. This boils my blood talking about it. People are paying $700, $800 a month on their average payments. I watched that guy on YouTube where he walks around the car dealership and he asks the employees in the car dealership, how much is your car payment? And it's like $1,100, and these people working in a car dealership.
Yeah.
Like, how is that possible? Where I'd say a 20, whatever you said, 27, mid-20s, was it $500 a month?
I mean, what we're looking for is to give people, I want to take a step back. I mean, people should be able to afford their cars, like full stop. We need more affordable vehicles.
We need more affordable everything.
Yeah. So, and that's one of the reasons Slate exists, is to try to answer that question. There was more to your question before, but I'm a step behind you.
Well, I was trying to get to where I was driving to this is now Ford has announced they're doing the same thing. I just saw your buddy Jim this weekend up in Pebble. You were at Pebble too.
That's right.
I thought that was actually, before we get into this whole Ford thing, what's the logic in bringing a $30,000 truck to Pebble Beach where a car is sold for $26 million?
So what's great about Car Week, as you know, as a repeat Car Week attendee, is that it's the premier place for enthusiasts to go. And just as, I remember your question from before, just as there are expensive auctions that are happening, we didn't participate in any of those events. We said those events have their place. We formed an incredible relationship with a coffee shop. Shout out Captain and Stoker. Excellent coffee. And what we did is we highlighted two things that were very important to us. We showed what the SUV kit looks like with the square back, and then we worked with them to wrap it, and we hung out in an area where enthusiasts go and locals go at the same time. So we wanted to be part of the community. And what's really cool is that there are plenty of people who continue to show up every day to see us. They wanted to see if we were going to change the truck because you know about our marketing stunt in Venice back in April. They wanted to see what it looked like up close. They brought their own competitive vehicles to come see, the size of it. That was really important. But I want to get back to your point about where are people going to charge. You can charge anywhere. And for the most part, level 1 charging still works in 2025. You can plug into any outlet.
But it takes a million years.
If you're home overnight and you don't have another option, you can plug into any outlet and you'll get...
Well, you know what part we didn't cover is the size of the battery. Actually, that is different.
We'll get there.
What's the size of the battery?
52.7 kilowatt.
That's small.
Yeah. It's not necessarily. When you think about what's out there, it's not hundreds of kilowatt hours.
Well, you personally drive a Hyundai Ioniq 6, and that's 79.
Something about there, yeah.
And they're all about 77 to 79 in that type of car. So you're talking a solid, 30% smaller.
I mean, we thought it all goes back to how can we make this such a affordable vehicle? So we looked at range, for example. Our range of 150 miles will get a lot of people where they need to go for an entire week without charging.
But that's, okay, I've heard this pitch before. Like, you know that, what is it? The Honda, what's the Honda EV city car they have in Europe?
The E. Isn't it just the E?
It's super cool.
The
Whatever
Honda E.
it is. The Honda E. Yeah, the Honda E. I love it.
Hyundai.
Hyundai.
Cut that out, yeah.
I get it. Yeah, no, and the Hyundai Inster is a cool looking car.
Of course.
Complete carbon copy of it.
Yeah.
And then my favorite now is the Renault 5. I never thought I'd said it in my life, a Renault 5. But they're like 100 miles of range. Now, in a European city, for people who are more into that kind of, I could see them selling in Europe. But Americans, they don't think that way. There's a certain, it's another thing from the Bob Lutz interview. He told me that everybody buys cars based on their beliefs. Not, does it fit a need? Is it efficient? Can I afford it? And I said to him, Bob, what about a Toyota Corolla? He says, think about it. It's a belief. It's people that are not buying it because they like it or they like to drive it. They're buying because their belief is, it's Toyota's got to be good. That's the only reason they buy it. So same kind of thing applies here. Wouldn't that work against you where my belief is I need 300 miles of range?
So that's your belief. As you know, we have a lot of shared beliefs. But the belief of our driver is that they want something that is customizable and affordable. I can afford this truck. This truck is something that I'm proud to show off. This truck that I have is an SUV. Those are their beliefs. And those are a lot of also reasons to believe in what we're doing. My truck was made by people here in the US. When we think about range, we also looked at, statistics about what Americans are actually doing versus what they think or they believe they're going to need to do. So that 150 miles, first of all, we also are going to offer a battery with more range, up to about 240, 250 miles. It's something that it's going to be available for people. But we looked at statistics, and if you find a level 3 charger, plug into it because you're going to recharge 80% of the battery in about half an hour. So you have that option as well.
So this isn't, okay. I think the audience knows I'm kind of biased about this whole I love the concept of the company. You know that. I think they know that now. This is where I'm going to push back against you. And I'm going to give you a saying from my grandmother.
Yeah,
exactly. Don't bother me with the facts. My mind is already made up. I think this is going to be a pain point for you.
Actually, before you say anything else, this is literally, it's so great. So the stories, we've been on the road with the truck since early June. We've hit places as far out as, we've been in Warsaw, Indiana, where we're going to make the truck.
Yeah.
We're at San Francisco, Boston.
No Delta service straight there?
Sorry?
No Delta service straight to Warsaw?
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. If anybody's paying attention.
United now offers service to Purdue University.
Oh.
Nonstop from Chicago.
Well, you first got to get to Chicago.
You got to get to Chicago.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Once you get to Chicago, things get a lot easier. We look at people who have been coming out to see where we are, and our road show is hitting everywhere. We have a parallel road shows happening East Coast, West Coast, and then the rest of the country as well.
Road show for the investors or road show for the
customers?
For customers. Got it.
We have people who come up to us, and they're kind of in two groups. We're actually in Newport, Rhode Island recently, a place that I hold very dear. And Newport, which people have told me for a long time is not a car city, we were there and people would come up to our space and say, either, tell me about Slate, I haven't heard about it, this seems really interesting, or I'm a reservation holder and I wanted to come take a look. We had the Newport Fire Department show up and I got nervous because I thought they were going to try to shut us down. Instead, the fire captain gets out and said, I made a reservation. I just wanted to see it in person for the first time. These people have made up their minds that they like it, and they're taking a second step with, not kidding, they brought measuring tape, they bring rulers, they want to sit in it. They love what we're doing, and we're so excited that people are coming out because they've made up their minds. They're our best source of referrals. I reserved one. I went in the Slate maker and I made my own in the garage, saved it to the garage and then made another one. It's an incredible vehicle, not just for people who need it. but for people who understand the power of the platform and how cool it is to be able to build something that's inspired.
So there's a term in the tech world called smart money. When you're in the tech world and you have a good product, or you have a good pitch or whatever, if your vaporware is really good, you have a lot of people throwing you money. But your goal is you're looking for smart money. You're looking for more than money. Like, for example, the startup that I worked for, the biggest investor was a very prominent, already established tech firm that had kind of the pieces of the puzzle we needed. So they weren't just going to give in money. They were going to actually be a partner to help grow the business. And in the end, it actually worked out very well. And they were the vehicle that part of the deal was, okay, you got to have this guy go in and run this business. So they were also like a headhunter too.
Yeah.
I think you got that, like the firemen coming up there, measuring tape and all that kind of stuff, because the press, when they introduced it, I saw all the videos and then the news that came out. It wasn't Slate. It wasn't this modular car. It wasn't this $30,000 car. It was Jeff Bezos's car. I think that was a stroke of genius. I think that was your smart money. Okay, so let's get back to more of the SWOT analysis rather than the Amway meeting. I think the four-door thing's a big deal. Is there plans to bring out a four-door?
Right now, we're focused on the two-door and all of what it can do, which is also, I have said this several times in this interview, become an SUV. Like that's, think about every vehicle that's out there. The car that I drive right now, I can't do that.
No, can't. The wrapping thing, I want to go back to that for a little bit. This was fascinating to me. He did this launch thing and it was Long Beach Airport, and the cars came out. How many cars did you have?
We had, I think it was eight
okay.
beta prototypes.
So they came out on the stage and they were all pickup trucks. And it was a lot of people. It wasn't just media. I don't know where you got all the people. Maybe you paid them to go there. I don't know.
Wouldn't do that.
And they're driving down a ramp and you place all the cars, like you had one set up for like tools and one set up for gamers and one set up for hippies and all this kind of stuff. But then I thought the piece de resistance was you had a stage. And on the stage, you had the people working in the background, and it was like the GM Motorama back in the 50s, where they had the veil up, but just enough where you could still see the opacity, where you could still see the shape of what's going on there. And we watched, and I think Nathan and I timed it. It was like 45 minutes to an hour, and the car was completely wrapped. Like it went up there, a pickup truck,
yeah, and
it turned into an SUV in a completely different color. If you want to see that car, Nathan and I did a video. We did 2 videos, and actually CJ was in that video. I'm jealous.
Did you pay him his fee?
No, because he's not PR trained. That's why. Talk to me about this direct to consumer. I know Tesla really was the first one to kind of test the mettle of the laws, and I know some states that had some pushback. Where are you at in that area?
Wait, you mentioned something. I want to go back to the reveal for a second, because you bring something up that's really important. Our truck is built one way. And we had a discussion about, when we're launching it, do we show it as the blank slate? Like, do we just show the blank slate? Because that's the vehicle everybody will buy initially. And do we put on the slate maker a slate gray pickup truck, a 2-door pickup truck? And we realized immediately, and you saw this in our design studio, we always had these 6 or 7 inspirations that we gave names to. We showed what kind of accessories each one had. And they were all a little bit different. Some appealed to business owners. Others were, there was a lowered one for like a street racer personality. And we needed to bring those to life. So we did that first. It wasn't just pickups that rolled off that stage. We had SUVs. We had the open air configuration. Everything we had talked about that night suddenly showed up. And we've built almost 80 prototype vehicles. Many of them we've put them to the wall for crash testing already, because we're also not just crash testing that 2-door pickup truck. We're also crash testing the converted SUV with a larger battery. We want to make sure that people understand everything about their truck before they buy it. So that was really important.
Do we know what the weight is?
Yeah. So the weight of the blank slate is about 3,600 pounds.
Oh, so what are we going for the SUV with everything in it? The back seat and all that stuff?
With
What's that
SUV kit is going to add just a few hundred more pounds.
Okay, so this kind of gives us to the really what I think will be the popular one, which will be the SUV. Have you given any guidance? I know last time we spoke about it, you didn't have a number for me, but if I get whatever cap, the back seat.
I thought we were done with the options game.
No, we're going to have more than options because I got to beat you up on the numbers. How much is that going to be?
We haven't announced it yet, but
give me a ballpark.
Ballpark, Tiger Stadium.
Now you see what I have to deal with. This is our entire conversation. This is why your wife sends you on vacation alone. She doesn't want to spend time with you.
No, when you think about what our SUV kits are going to cost, because our accessories are sold a la carte, and the SUV kit bundles, not just the roof, seats, roll cage, airbag, those sorts of things. We haven't announced a price on it yet, but consistent with our messaging that vehicles should be affordable, it's going to be something that people can afford.
It doesn't tell me anything. This is you being a PR professional, what you just gave me.
This is me.
You gave me the old okie doke. I don't want the old okie doke. I want to hear between us chickens, $32,000. That's what I want.
Well,
actually, I want it to be $18,000. That's affordable.
What was the last car you bought?
Not affordable.
Was it affordable?
Right, it was not affordable. No, in the grand scheme of things, it's very affordable because if you do it the right way, you make money on it.
Yeah.
So my car is more affordable than this.
Everyone's definition of affordable is going to get them where they want. So, but yeah, in this case, I say wait and see. We're not too far from taking orders.
Are you guys doing, not that I'm asking for me, because you know I don't ask for this stuff. Are you guys doing captive finance and that kind of stuff?
Ourselves, we're working with some partners. We'll have more information about that.
So you will offer some sort of like in-house, either subvented or some kind of deal through the financing?
Yeah, I mean, it's, if I'm hearing you correctly, we're working, with financing. The word deal around here, the price you see is the price you're going to pay.
I get that, but the whole point is you're going to be able to offer, you could buy it for this, or you could buy it for this a month.
Exactly.
Not that I want people to do that. For the avoidance of doubt, I am against debt. However, you can do this.
You can. You will be able to.
Okay. So what goes into, we're delivering this thing at the end of 26? Because I feel like the world's going to change between now and then. That brings us back to the Ford thing. I saw your buddy Jim. And I'm like, Jim, I'm gonna see Habibi. What message do you want me to pass him about your $30,000 pickup truck that you announced? And he wanted to know what you had to say about his plans.
We think everyone deserves an affordable vehicle.
You say this every time. This is the same line. But I feel like the landscape has changed now. When you announced your car, no one was really doing that. But Ford, I think Jim, and when I keep on joking around about Jim Farley, CEO of the company, famously a car guy, like serious car guy. Cars like the GTD would not exist without him. But the fact that he comes out and says, guys, I think cars are too expensive. He didn't say the complex thing, though. He just said too expensive, which is the same message as you. What happens in 2026, 2027, when you see members of the calcified industry coming after you?
Wait, say that question another way. The calcified industry, what are we talking about? About milk production here? What is this?
So, established OEMs.
Yeah.
What happened? Is Ford going to come out with this thing in a year? No, they're not. But are they going to come out with it in 2 years? Yes. Toyota has already more than hinted at, we're doing something like this as well. Yeah. So I see you as having competition from Ford, which you already have, by the way, with the Maverick, Ford, Toyota, and I got to believe your old employer would probably do the same thing.
What's amazing about our addressable market is its size. We're not just looking at new vehicles and people who are looking at new vehicles, but used vehicles as well. There are potentially 55 million sales that we're looking at, and our factory, at full run is about 150,000 vehicles.
It's a lot of volume.
A lot of volume, but when you think about the total addressable market, we see a lot of opportunity across the board. So yeah, are people making more affordable vehicles? That's great for everybody.
How did you guys land on 150,000 units? And before you answer, share with the audience what is how many Toyota RAV4s they sell a year?
I don't know how many.
250,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you get to 150? Like, how do you guys say we want to build capacity for 150,000 units?
It was an early decision. It was also, our factory, which we haven't talked a lot about, but our factory in Warsaw, Indiana, was not an automotive plant up until we got there. It was making catalogs, white pages, yellow pages, from some, if you've ever got a Sears catalog.
Yellow pages?
Yes.
Wow.
Today, I can't even find a yellow page to put my daughter to sit on at a restaurant. So what we're up against here is, we've retooled the factory. It's over 1 million square feet, about 1.4 million. By traditional automotive manufacturing standards, that's pretty small footprint. We're able to do it there because we're not focused on things like a paint shop, which we've eliminated.
Let's actually, I want to drill down on that because that's a big thing. Since you and I spoke about that, I actually did do a little research. And something like, depending on the factory, and granted, I got these numbers from some of the public-private cooperations that they're trying to do by bringing manufacturing to southern states. It was like $1 billion to $2 billion to build a factory. Like, get it up and running, all the tooling. Give me an idea of what a paint shop costs.
The hundreds of millions of dollars.
So a huge percentage of that $1 to $2 billion.
Paint is not as simple as people think it is. And that's where our composite solution, composite body panels over a steel frame. The panels they've got molded in color, so it's slate gray. By not having to do that, and then we haven't talked a lot about wrap yet, but we can. I mean, it's an ingenious solution, and that was on the page that I read about when I was examining if this was going to be a good place to go lay a shingle, whatever the phrase is. But this is truly innovative in the industry.
So how did it work? I don't know if you could speak to this, but how did it work with the deal with the factory? Did you go to the state of Indiana and say, kind of like the Fremont deal with Toyota and GM back in the day, or are you seeing some of that happening with Arizona and chip manufacturing? Or was it just you guys found the real estate on your own?
We conducted a pretty extensive search over a number of years. We started with almost a dozen sites, and we came to this one in Warsaw. We knew that it had to meet a couple of very key requirements. Had to have good quality of life. Also had to be in this, what we call the automotive corridor. So we're not looking to do something, we're not reinventing the wheel. We wanted to be in a center of precision manufacturing. I don't know if you know this, but
to be close to suppliers
and talent. Warsaw is known as the orthopedic capital of the world.
I had no idea.
So dating back to the 1800s, when the company that became J&J ultimately started up there, or one of the companies that folded in. So Warsaw offers precision manufacturing talent. It's a good place to live. I enjoy being there. It's a fun community. And this factory was a brownfield site. We weren't going to build a new factory. So this checked a lot of boxes for us.
When you say it was a catalog factory, was it remnant for a long time, or was it doing something before you got it?
The factory closed in 2023.
Oh, so it wasn't like the Packard factory in Detroit.
No.
I still want to do some racing in there. So was there a deal with the state where you got some tax incentives or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, we've been happy to work with the state and the local community on making it a really good reason to be in Indiana. But yeah.
Back home again.
Yes.
What else about this am I not understanding? Because I feel like I got an early view of the whole thing. I missed the opportunity a little bit behind the scenes. I was supposed to shoot a whole launch video of it that sadly did not happen for a comedy of errors. I wanted to make sure we spent a lot of time talking about this because I do think it's a novel idea.
Well, I think you understand it, and we're early in on it, significantly in greater detail than most. When you think about what we're doing, it's not just building another car. It's not introducing something revolutionary. We're really solving a problem, and everybody here is mission-driven to do it. It doesn't matter if you're on CJ's accessory team or if you're in any other part of the business, from engineering, IT infrastructure, HR, literally everybody here is focused on developing a company culture, focused on some very core principles, bringing those to life, and then delivering the vehicle that America has been asking for.
So speaking of delivering the motors, who makes them?
We haven't talked suppliers yet. As we get a little closer to production, we'll be having that conversation.
I'm disappointed. So you're not going to Rimatz where they make the motors in-house with the Bugatti Tourbillon?
More to come.
More to come. Is there can we at least talk about the size of the motors? Like, are you doing a Yasa thing where they're really small and light? Or are you going to do like, we get these things off the shelf and just because they're cheap?
We do look for solutions that are going to get us to production, and they're just the common sense solution. We don't have to invent something or reinvent it. We're not doing that. We're finding ways to integrate pieces that already exist, are really good. But like I said, we'll talk more about that when I see you at the launch.
There's a lot of, we'll talk more about that. Another piece we didn't cover, it's rear-wheel drive.
That's right.
But it's not all-wheel drive. What's going on there? Are we going to get an accessory?
We focused on driving dynamics and weight savings and a lot of other things and cost. So it is rear-wheel drive.
I don't know if you got the memo, but people like all-wheel drive pickup truck.
This goes back, I think, also to what we talked about before about what people believe and what they think, and then what they're so convinced on. The funny thing is I would refer you back to our forums where people say, yeah, rear-wheel drive pickup truck, that makes sense.
I get it. I totally understand what you're saying here. Totally understand. But there is this, don't bother me with the facts. My mind is already made up. I think this is another area. What was the other area I told you first? It was the range and this all-wheel drive thing. I think these are bigger issues than the 2 extra doors. But I'm convinced at some point you'll have a 4-door. I know you're smart enough to figure this out. And the fact that I know Tish from the Volvo days, like a true story. I want to tell you behind the scenes, true story.
Has none of this been true up until now?
Good point. I'm doing a walking tour on camera with Tish when she was at Volvo. Okay. And so we're in the Volvo booth at the New York Auto Show.
With the Moose?
No, this is pre-Moose. And we're walking through, and she takes me to the then new S90. And I love that car. I love the design of it. Okay. We're walking around it, and it's kind of like the end of the second media day. To give you an idea, media days, it's only media folks. The first day it's packed with media. The second day, all the media, they like to go home and get their nails done. They don't want to work. So I'm in there. That's the time when the video guys work. And I'm rolling through with Tish, and she's giving me the walk around. We come around to the trunk. Who's standing there? CEO of Ford. It was Mark. Remember when he was the CEO? Great dude. Love the guy. And I had known Mark. And he's sitting there on his own, no handler, no nothing. Usually a CEO has a handler, especially at an auto show. And he's looking at the design of the car. And you could tell he's like, man, this is pretty cool looking. So, of course, I take the opportunity like, hey, Mark, what do you think of Tish's work? He looks at it, looks at Tisha, looks back at the car, looks at the camera, and it says, I like the Continental better. Nothing. I figured you'd like that story.
I love the story. Yeah.
It's a great story.
Good auto show stories.
Yeah, actually, you can see that. It's on one of our live episodes way back in the day, whenever the S90 came out. Anyway, there's these things you put on the dashboard. What are those?
Those are called slatelets.
Why?
So a slatelet is, if you're familiar with Crocs, which based on your shoes, you might not be.
No, I am not a fan of Crocs. I wore my special socks for you, my American socks.
Thank you. Where were they made?
American These are, have you heard of, what's the name of this company? Stance. So the guy is based up, I think, in the Bay Area. Massive car guy. This guy has been selling so many socks, he has a car collection second to none. Like Muras, that kind of stuff.
Love that.
Sir, I can't thank you enough for this. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat. Next time it's CJ. Bring him. My audience wants to see CJ.
All right.
Okay. Congratulations on the new role and being the official voice of Slate.
Until someone with a better voice comes along.
Okay, being that you're the voiceover artist, do you want to do the usual MotoMan end? You don't remember this?
I know the German.
So you first got to say, comments below.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Well, no, you want to find out something from these guys, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what question do you want to throw to the audience that you want an honest answer to about Slate?
I want to know what their slates look like.
What they look like?
I want to know when you've gone to the slate maker, what accessories have you put on your slate already? What's your top accessory?
Okay, you can do that, but I would like to hear, what is your biggest, give us your SWOT analysis. What's the biggest strength, weakness, opportunity, or threat of Slate that we didn't cover today? So you can't talk about the 4 doors or lack of 4 doors. Can't talk about the no all-wheel drive. and you can't talk about whether it's gas or electric. So what's your SWOT analysis? Comments below, and you will read these.
Of course, I read all the comments.
He is an active viewer of the show. With that, I thank you very much for joining me and Habibi here, and we very much appreciate your help in growing our podcast, which is now on a completely different separate channel. So subscribe, like, notifications, but also if you're hearing us through a download on Spotify or Apple or those, please rate and review us. You helping us grow is greatly appreciated. Until we see you in the next episode.
Bis später.
Vielen Dank, sehr gut.